Uh-oh, here we go.
Unit conversions.
Yes. I love dimensional analysis.
Yes.
This is my baby.
Mm-hmm.
I like into math. Follow the rules. Please, just let the units be your guide and don't fight this.
Right. It's a fraction. Don't freak out.
Seriously.
Part divided by the whole. We can use those as ratios, and you'll see. We're going to be flipping fractions up and down so we cancel units that we're looking for. It's not that tough. We
learned to calculate gram formula mass last video.
Right.
Now we're going to use it. So I'm going to take the given. I'm going to multiply it times my conversion factor, which is the gram formula mass. And it can go one of two ways. And that's going to give me my wanted units. But I'm going to let the units be my guide. So I set it up right. Okay. So setting it up is key. Water. You learned to calculate the gram formula mass. Remember what it is off the top of your head?
18 grams per mole.
We've done 18. We've done it so much.
But there's also 1 mole per 18 grams.
There's the key. And notice the units are either in the numerator or the denominator.
Mm-hmm. With dimensional analysis, we look at these and see fractions, but what they really are ratios, which is what a fraction is. But in dimensional analysis, we're allowed to flip the fraction upside down and it's still equivalent.
Right, because 18 grams equals 1 mole. Mm-hmm. Anything divided by itself is 1.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Mm-hmm. So 1 mole divided by 18 grams, well, it's something divided by itself.
Right.
So it's 1. So it works out mathematically. So these are both equivalent statements.
Absolutely.
What we need to learn to do is not only calculate that 18 grams per mole, but now learn which one of these particular fractions to insert in there to get what we want to get.
If we're given grams and got to get to moles, we have to use one. If we're given moles and got to get to grams, we got to use the other version.
And what we say is our coin phrase, let your units be your guide. The units will show you what to do and pick it up. Mm-hmm. Right? This is going to help us pick the conversion factor that has the units that were given in the denominator.
So it cancels out.
If I start with moles, I want to put moles in the denominator of my conversion factor.
And you'll end up with grams.
See what I'm saying?
If you start with grams, you got to put grams in the denominator and you'll end up with moles.
I think we're going to say it in words and then we're going to do an example. So
do it. So the first step is always figure out the gram formula mass of the compound you're interested in. Start with what you're given. In this case is moles. So you're going from moles to grams, like 2 moles of water. How much does it weigh? You start with the moles. So you multiply by the gram formula mass as the conversion factor with the moles in the denominator. So for water, it would be 18 grams over 1 mole. And so 2 times 18 would be 36 grams if that were the example we're doing, but we're not.
Right. We'll get there. First, let's get it out in words. Right.
Gas to moles.
Right. So now we're going to start with what we're given. In this case, it's moles.
Yep.
I'm going to multiply by the 22.4 liters over 1 mole, making sure that moles is in my denominator. So it gets rid of it.
Right.
And it's supposed to have liters in my denominator this time. So this is something we messed up last year. I didn't fix this year. So fix that. Mm-hmm. We're not fixing
that fraction. Flip it.
And we'll know if you're listening if you actually flipped it.
Correct, sir.
Okay? Because we just gave you 1. Yeah.
So an example, how many moles are in 15 grams of lithium? Well, the first step is the gram formula mass.
All right, so lithium. I'm looking up lithium. I see it is 7, mister.
1 mole, Li, equals 7 grams. So that's 7 grams over 1 mole, or 1 mole per 7 grams.
There you go. And you're not going to have to write that part out all the time. We're trying to get you to understand that we need to.
We're showing you our thought process.
Yes. Now, then it says start with what we're given. I'm given 15 grams of lithium. Now, I need to use the conversion factor that has grams of lithium in the denominator so that grams will cancel out. There you go. So I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use 1 mole over 7 grams. And now when you multiply it out, when you multiply fractions, you do numerator times numerator, you do denominator times denominator, and the denominator in 15 grams of lithium is really 1. And then your units, long way, is going to be grams times moles, and then you're going to be over grams, and then grams cancels out. So the longhand goes to this whole shortcut of the numerator of the one term and the denominator of the other term will cancel out.
Okay, and the answer is 15 divided by 7.
Right, which is 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, not quite 5.
7 twice. Oh, yeah. 14,
so it would be 1/7. Yeah, 1/7.
0.16, something like that.
Okay,
so
good. Now we're going to go from grams to moles. We're going to use a whole different set of scenario for you guys to see what's going on. Now we're going to deal with NaF. So lithium was easy, it's just one element. Here we got to calculate the gram formula mass of NaF. So Na, I have one of them, and Na is 23. And we have one fluorine, and fluorine's what, 18 or 19?
19.
Yep, 19. I'm looking at my reference table. 23 and 19, I can see 42 grams per mole,
So
or
that's 1 mole,
over 42 grams,
or
42 grams over 1 mole. Both of those are equivalent statements, and we need to figure out which way to do it. Let's start with the 4.5 moles, because that's what the problem gives me. And I need to pick the conversion factor with moles in the denominator, so moles cancels and leaves me with grams. So in this case, it's the 42 grams over 1 mole. And now we got to do 42 times 4.5. Oh, that's tough in my head. I can kind of come up with it. 160, 170 plus a half of 42.
the answer is do the math.
Yeah, seriously.
Do math.
Right.
Do math.
Right? But notice how we are now not just counting atoms, calculating gram formula mass, we're using the gram formula mass.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, this is good.
Liters to moles.
Okay. So same thing.
Except that the first step is not calculate gram formula mass.
Right, because we're just in moles. So we know, or liters. So we know that 1 mole is 22.4 liters, or 22.4 liters is 1 mole. And then we're going to start with what the problem gives us, which is 1.2 moles. So therefore, I'm going to use the one with moles on the denominator. I'm going to use the fraction that has moles in the denominator to cancel out the moles that I'm given. So I need to use 22.4 over 1 mole. Moles will cancel. And it's just going, the answer is going to be 1.2 times 22.4. And again, you got a calculator. Neither of us have one handy. So you'll do the math. As a Monaco would say, do the math.
Do math.
And it's not entirely complicated math.
Do maths.
Okay? Good?
Yeah.
Are you happy?
I am so far so good, man.
I like that we are building.
Gotta be.
One last one. We ain't done.
Maths. Okay, moles back to liters. I'm going to keep that first step because
Good
it's
idea.
the same conversion factors to choose from.
Yep. Then we're going to take this 11.2 liters that the problem gives us as the second step. And now this time I need to pick the conversion factor with liters in the denominator because I'm letting my units be my guide. That tells me I need to cancel out my liters by using the conversion factor with liters in the denominator. And this one we can do in our heads real quick. This is a 0.5. If you're listening, I can do that, the math in my head.
Yes, 11.2.
Divided by. There we go. Liters leaves me with 1 mole. Done. So you do the math, but that one we can do right in our head.
Do math.
Do math.
About a half.
About a half.
About a half a mole.
Yeah, and I think you want your grade to be higher than 50. Just saying.
So we got a little time. Tell you what's up.
Yep.
Got to count your atoms in order to figure out your gram formula mass.
Yes.
Got to understand that the gram formula mass can be used as a conversion factor.
Yes.
Got to understand that when you are starting, you start with the liter or the units you're given, and then you always multiply by the fraction that your conversion factor needs to be.
Yeah.
With the denominator.
There's more steps in this, so more practice,
Mhm.
right? So there's page 17. I literally did it out, calculate gram formula mass, right? No,
Yep.
You don't see the
Don't-
answers.
Stop peeking.
And then I had to do out the math. So I did one step and I did the two.
Page 17 was 7 examples. Page
Yeah.
18 was 7 examples. Page 19 was
A few others with the
8
leaders. just so you don't-
examples.
Right? That's it.
So 17, 18, 19. There wasn't much gram formula mass practice because guess what? You got to keep doing it for the next task.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more on that. So there are only 18 gram formula mass calculations, but
And
another
if we go backwards in time, when I said you got to be able to count them right, the atoms every time, see that leads to gram formula mass. And then gram formula mass we use here. So if you make a mistake because you got NO3 with a parentheses 3 and you say 1,
if you make a mistake because
oh,
you're not paying attention to your
it's going
counting
to
rules.
expand all the way through. So
Absolutely.
time up.
That's it. I push the button and turn off the video. Yeah.